he said, Matt Walsh has said, that has been controversial. And he said this in the lecture. Islam is not the true religion. Now, he didn't say Islam sucks. He didn't say Islamists are demons. He didn't say Islam should be banned. He says, as a Catholic man, I believe that Catholicism is the true religion, not Islam. That too is a view of the Catholic Church. The different ideas that he has should not have been a reason for them to ban him, especially at the 11th hour. Okay. Now his lecture itself, his pro-life lecture, was pretty much standard stuff. Life begins at conception. All babies are people. They're not fetuses. And he also mentioned the typical pro-life mantra that I personally believe in. And it's an argument, I guess. Okay, if life doesn't begin at conception, can you go ahead and murder a baby after it's born? Of course, most people will say no. Virtually all people will say no. So you go back in time. Okay, how about a minute before it's born? How about 2 minutes before it's born? How about a few minutes, an hour before it's born? So if life doesn't begin at perception, tell me when it does begin. Okay? And that's a common argument. Forget if you agree with it or not. It's an argument. It's a view. It's a statement. You could even say it's a perception if you're a pro-choice person. Okay? But should that person be banned? Matt Walsh had some pretty standard stuff to talk about. He says he's been called dangerous. I saw nothing dangerous in that speech. A statement he even made, he said, am I dangerous? Yep, like the light is dangerous to the dark. Okay. He spoke for 30 minutes. Quite frankly, he wasn't a great speaker. He rarely looked up from his script. Now, he was pro-homeschool. He made the statement that rioters and looters are bad people. Life begins at conception. Talked about raising children. He and his wife have 4. I heard absolutely nothing in his lecture that was hateful. In fact, I agreed with 100% of what he had to say. Does that make me a hate monger? If I were to speak at St. Louis University, would they ban me? Now, he was no Jordan Peterson because, and I won't go see him again. And that's not because I didn't like him. He was fine. But I will tell you, he wasn't particularly entertaining. He wasn't a particularly good speaker. And I didn't learn anything from his lecture. He talked for 30 minutes, gave questions, took questions and answers for 30 minutes. And then he left. So it was an hour. And I just thought to myself, this is bizarre. It should have been a non-story. This should have been, here's a guy lecturing at SLU. Those who agree with him are going to go ahead and attend the lecture. Oh, and if you don't agree with him, you want to stand outside and protest? Yeah, that's fine too. That's kind of what you do at college campuses. Now, SLU said, well, we don't want anybody so controversial as that on our campus. They have controversial lectures all the time. Recently, they had a gentleman named Malik S. Henfield. He's an academic, and he's black, and he's one of these guys who everything wrong has to do with how whites have oppressed blacks throughout the years. Now, to me, that's ridiculous. That's baloney. That's offensive. But he spoke at St. Louis U. And I see no problem with him speaking at St. Louis U. Because just because it's something I don't agree with, something I think is ridiculous, doesn't mean that you can't have that guy speak. Because that's what a university is all about. Let's look at different viewpoints. Young people are that way. Minds have to be introduced to different criteria so you can make a choice. Colleges teach you to learn, okay? They teach you to be able to learn. And by listening to different points of views, you can weigh different things. Bottom line is, to even suggest that a guy like Matt Walsh should be banned from St. Louis University or banned from speaking is totally ridiculous. It's not fair. And quite frankly, it's embarrassing to me that a Catholic university, me as a Catholic man, that a Catholic university would ban someone like this is embarrassing at best and scandalous at worst. Okay? This guy to me was not controversial at all. Yet they wanted to ban him. That, my friends, is absolutely wrong. And I don't care if you're right wing, left wing, something in the center. You can't shut down people who don't agree with you. Because when you do, you have that crowd mentality. When you do, you close the door to anything ever changing. There was a gentleman who actually wrote an article, an editorial in the St. Louis University paper, and he was a graduate, and he was talking about he wanted to give a opinion on why he thinks that Matt Walsh should be banned, and that's because he's a terrible person, hate speak. Now, he believes in the First Amendment, and what he said is, I believe in the First Amendment. I think that Mr. Walsh should be able to speak, just not here. I don't think he should be thrown in jail. That's what he thinks free speech should be about. You can't say it anywhere around me, but we don't think we should throw you in jail for it. In fact, he even made the statement, I don't think he should be killed for it. That's ridiculous. And what I found to be very ridiculous is here's a guy who's a graduate of St. Louis University. The guy's got a degree, a journalism degree, and his writing style was poor. His argument was weak at best and very biased, although presented as trying to be mainstream and centrist. It was about as disingenuous as it could be. If I were a newspaper or any type of organization trying to hire a good writer, and I saw what this guy wrote for a school newspaper, I'd think, you know what? This school doesn't put out journalists. This school puts out hacks who can't put 10 words together and don't know the difference between fact and opinion. That's another thing about SLU that bothers me. I've always thought that this was a institute of higher learning that produces people that are far smarter than me. Not so much. And anytime you close your mind, anytime you don't consider alternatives, anytime you say my way or the highway, anytime you say this is the way things are, and if you don't agree with me, I'm going to shut you down so you don't speak your mind. Friends, you are not ever going to succeed in the theater of the world. Because things will change. They always change. And even though you're on the inside looking out, one day you'll be on the outside looking in if you don't consider the views of others. Well, that's it. I'm done. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Hope you learned a little bit. Hope I'm not like Matt Walsh, who's not very entertaining and didn't teach me anything. I hope you say, you know what, strong man, I did learn a little bit. And you know what? You were halfway entertaining, even though you coughed a few times and you sipped your dopey coffee. You want the podcast all the time? It's easy. JamesStrongShow@hotmail.com. Send me your email address. I will go ahead and put you on the James Strong Show fan page. I will send you an email upon publication of the podcast. You can download it and listen to it at your leisure. Also, I enjoy getting the emails. I get a lot of emails, believe it or not. And I appreciate the emails and instant messages that folks send me. I always respond to those emails, instant messages, Facebook posts, etc. I love to hear from the folks. That's it. I'm done. Until next time, this is James Strong saying adios.